Do you consider what's happening with immigration and our border itself, the security of our border, do you consider that to be a crisis or an emergency that needs to be addressed?
Absolutely. And what you said in your opening there is absolutely right, Liz. How many more facts do we need? So just this week, a police officer, had it not been for her quick reaction, her heroic actions, she would have been another among thousands of victims. She would have died at the hands of an illegal alien in Napa County, California, had she not reacted properly. And a criminal illegal alien that had been here and deported several times, just like the stories you just represented. I mean, how many more facts, how many more angel families do we have to create? How many more drug overdose deaths do we have to have in this country when we have 90% of the heroin come to the southwest border? How many more facts do we have to present before they drop the old talking points driven by political ideology and do what's right for the safety and security of this country? It's outrageous, it's reckless, and American lives are being lost because of this false narrative and rhetoric.
Right. We always hear, I think, Republicans talk about how Democrats put their politics above people's lives. And we hear that so much it almost becomes trite. This is a living, breathing example of Democratic politicians doing exactly that, putting their political objective, that being their dislike of President Trump, over the safety and security of American lives. It's horrifying. I want to get into some nitty gritties of some of these numbers. In my introduction, when I was asking those rhetorical questions, well, how many get through? Because 500,000 being apprehended, that's great in and of itself, although, of course, I have quibbles with the catch and release policies that allow so many of those 500 apprehended to then be released into our country. What is the apprehension rate, though? Because 500,000 being caught doesn't take into account how many actually get across. Could you speak to that?
Absolutely, Liz. And that, you hit one of the significant pillars that's not being talked about enough, but yet the political ideological movement on the left twists it around. They want to talk about how overall the numbers have gone down since the late 90s and early 2000s. But what they don't talk about is what you just did. The individuals who get away. And why do they get away? One reason why they get away is because 50 to 60% of our border is wide open. There's not enough physical barrier, technology, or personnel, and they're getting through. So the 500,000 we catch, 300,000 easier getting through. Think about that. That's 700 to 800,000. That's bigger than the entire population of the state of Wyoming. How is that not a crisis? The other part that's a false narrative that they don't talk about is the actual demographics. So in the late 90s and early 2000s, the majority of the individuals coming across were Mexican nationals. They were being deported, ER, expedited removal, immediately back to Mexico. Now, as you so accurately pointed out, the majority of those numbers now are family units, unaccompanied children, and other asylum seekers. And because of our broken asylum laws, they're actually allowed into the interior United States. So although the numbers right now are down the past couple of years, those being allowed into the United States are actually increasing. And we don't know what's getting through, so it's a false narrative.